Okay, are you ready for the show, Frankie?
Yes, I'm ready for the show.
I'm ready for the show. Are you ready for the show, Bran?
Yeah.
All right, let's roll the
Oh,
washboard, Hank.
Well, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather we've got. Wait a minute. Well, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather, whether or not. There it is.
Hello, Prince George. Hello, Winnipeg. Hello, Kamloops, and viewers all across BC on Rogers Television. This is the Comedeorological Report. I am Joey Only, your host up here in Wells, British Columbia, 3,935 feet above sea level. This is your show about how much the weather sucks in Canada. Comedy plus meteorology equals Comedeorology. Today's top stories are Godzilla is attacking the East Coast this weekend, new storm coming into BC, and tsunami warning was a dud today, but it's still important we paid attention. I am Joey Only, like I say. I'm here with my panel of Comedeorologists, which includes the fabulous Frankie McDonald, my favorite weatherman in the entire universe. He's out in Sydney, Nova Scotia right now, where they had a wind warning today. And we got with us also on the panel, longtime co-host Brandon Houck out there in Brooks, Alberta. And we got Mark Engels, meteorologist down there in Surrey, BC. Karen Richards from the Prince George area, who's part of our Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers group we run on Facebook, and Mike McGregor from the Weather Center of Manitoba out there in Manitoba, where they got some nice weather. And also his partner Justin right now, he's out tonight, and he's caught up with the holiday train, and we got some video from him on that tonight in the show.
Then on December the 18th, he'll be on Kinsicum podcast.
On December the 18th, I would like to be. Yeah, so I'm sorry I missed the podcast this week, Frankie, but we had a tragedy in the house here, and I won't even beat around the bush about it. It happened, and I'm a bit traumatized tonight, and haven't slept well for a few days, and we're very sad about the passing of our friend Lisa, who's lived here, and we'll dedicate the show to you, Lisa Strauss, your show tonight. Okay, now for the world's worst weather, Frankie. Here's Frankie McDonald. How's it going so far, buddy?
Frankie, the weatherman.
I'm doing great so far. Weather. It was high winds and heavy rain earlier in Sydney, Nova Scotia a couple hours ago. It was really high winds in Sydney, Nova Scotia, with heavy rain in the forecast, and snow in New Brunswick and Montreal. They're bringing a lot of snow squalls in Quebec and Southern Ontario, and they're bringing lots of snow squalls in Erie, Pennsylvania, and things like this. In Cleveland, Ohio, they're bringing a lot of snow squalls there right now. It's going to bring the really cold air in Quebec this Saturday and Sunday coming up in northern Quebec, like Nunavut region of Quebec and things like this. It's going to bring really strong winds and heavy rain in Vancouver Island this Saturday and Sunday coming up. It's going to bring a lot of rain in Vancouver Island, including Tofino, British Columbia, Nanaimo, Parksville, Kimlicon Beach, Courtney, Comox, Campbell River, Portland Hill, Port Hardy, British Columbia. Lots of snow in BC interior. And they got rain in Vancouver, British Columbia. Then they got some snow heading for Saskatchewan on Sunday and then Manitoba Monday. Then it's going to head towards Quebec on Tuesday. Then it's going to bring a lot of rain all across the eastern United States on Wednesday. It's going to bring high winds and heavy rain in eastern United States and America on Wednesday. High winds and heavy rain in New York City and Washington, D.C., driving all the way down to Cancun, Mexico. And it's going to affect parts of Florida. It's going all the way down to parts of Cuba and even Mexico.
Even Mexico, Frankie?
Yeah, St. Ana winds in California right now, in Arizona, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, and Colorado. And St. Ana winds going on and up and around southwestern United States as well. Caused a lot of fires in Southern California. Lots of hot air in Southern California right now. Lots of rain thunderstorms going on in Central America right now, like Panama, Honduras, and all those places. Mexico and Guatemala and Costa Rica during the dry season, and El Salvador is in dry season as well. In Venezuela, Venezuela's entering the dry season this time of the year. And Colombia's entering the dry season as well. There's a lot of rain and thunderstorms in southern Brazil right now, and parts of the Amazon rainforest. There's a lot of rain and thunderstorms, so parts of Ecuador, parts of Bolivia and Peru. Up around northern Chile is really dry right now. In southern Chile, they're bringing snow up in the mountains and rain in the coast areas. Then you got warm air, cold air fighting each other in southern Argentina and Balkan Islands right now. This time of year, we got their summer starts on December 21st. Then we got some really warm air in Spain right now. There's a storm over in England right now. There's a big storm hit for England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Ireland. This Friday night and this Saturday coming up. All across France, Italy, with snow in the mountains in Switzerland. Then they got some cold air in Germany, and heading towards Spain on Monday. And Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden. Then they got some rain in Ukraine parts of Ukraine right now. Then they got some lots of thunderstorms and rain going on in snowing and raining in Albania and Greece and all those places, and Bosnia, Croatia, and all those countries. And Turkey, and right now Turkey's warmer than normal right now. Then they got some cold air heading towards Algeria next Monday coming up. This Monday coming up. Then got some cold air heading towards Algeria on Sunday evening and Monday, including parts of Morocco and Libya and all those places. There's some showers in the forecast. And weather all across Western Pacific, like lots of cold air in Sapporo, Japan. It got cold air in Tokyo, Japan, Kyoto, Japan, with snow in the forecast coming off and goes to northern Japan. It's really cold in South Korea, North Korea, Vladivostok, Russia. It's so cold in Siberia right now. There's blizzard conditions possible this weekend coming up in southern Siberia. It's really cold in Mongolia right now. Then it got some cold air in Beijing, China, northeastern China right now. It's drier than normal in southern China, so it's Hong Kong. A lot of rain and thunderstorms in Indonesia right now. Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos during the dry season. With bit of showers in the forecast. A lot of rain and thunderstorms going on Papua New Guinea and Indonesia right now. Parts of the Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia right now. Not much rain going on in India because they're in a dry season. Pretty much Sri Lanka's pretty much entering dry season gradually. And it's going to turn wet again. Lots of dry weather in Nepal, Tibet, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, and the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and all those places. Nigeria, Ghana, they're in a dry season right now. Lots of rain in southern Congo and Tanzania, including Mozambique and Angola. Lots of rain, thunderstorms going on right now. It's really hot outside in South Africa, Botswana, and Angola right now. It's really humid in Mozambique, Madagascar, Mauritius Islands in Africa right now. Down in Southwest Pacific, lots of rain, thunderstorms going on in northern Australia. Then they got some hail, rain, and thunderstorms coming off the coast of southeastern Australia. You got hot air in New Zealand. You got lots of rain this weekend coming up from South Island, New Zealand, North Island, New Zealand, and all those places right now. Lots of showers and rain, chance of rain in the forecast in New Zealand. In Perth, Australia, it's really hot. It's really warm there right now. It's going to get hot on Monday in Perth, Australia. They're getting extreme heat in Central Australia, which thunderstorms in the forecast in Central Australia. Antarctica's 24-hour daylight right now. Up above the Arctic Circle's 24-hour darkness.
It is the best weather report I've ever heard, Frankie. You're so wonderful, and it's just good to see you, man. Good to see all of you. I appreciate you all so much, and it means a lot to talk to you every week. Thanks to all the viewers out there in the live stream as well. Really appreciate
And I got
all your
news
great
for you.
comments.
Base Guy Show is testing equipment right now, and his equipment's working properly. He said so. And Base Guy Show will be back on the air before you know it.
Before we know it, there'll be Base Guy Show back on the air. Anyone got a question for Frankie McDonald tonight?
I've got a question.
Meteorologist Mark Ingalls.
Frankie, good evening. What is your favorite kind of cheese?
Shredded pizza. Shredded Saputo mozzarella cheese and put on pizza.
Nice.
What about
I got a question for you, Frankie.
what about blue cheese, Frankie?
There's no blue cheese.
Doesn't know blue cheese. What about you, Mike?
Frankie, what is your favorite Christmas dessert?
I like
When the weather
gingerbread and
gets cold.
shortbread cookies.
Any dessert.
Gingerbread and shortbread cookies.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sounds yummy.
I like that too. Yeah. What about you, Brandon? What about you, Karen? You got a question for Frankie?
Well, Frankie, do you have 24 gift bags in your house right now?
I don't have 24 gift bags.
Yeah, man. Does not have 24 gift bags. Karen, you got a question for Frankie before we go on to the next thing?
I don't right now.
And Karen, What's the question? How's the weather in Prince George?
The weather in Prince George right now, Frankie, is rainy, yucky. All our snow melted.
That means down in California causing Santa Ana winds right now, triggering a lot of fires down in Southern California.
I got something for you here. Now I realize, so I got your video. I know Kelly's watching right now. I got your video, Kelly, but unfortunately we can't use it for Rogers TV because they won't let us use any image that isn't our own during the show, right? So we can't use like a website. We can't. They don't want anything because it's public access TV, and we do not want to spend money on lawyers for any reason whatsoever. So just no image that you don't create. So that's. But we do have this. So I'm sorry about that this week.
That means That means the show had TV commercials. That means that they had to split the shows in half for the commercials on their own way.
Yeah, they have their own way of doing things, but that's our directive, and I think that's fair because during the live stream,
in between the parts of the show, and if they allow the commercials on cable access TV, that means they have to the cable access TV will have to cut the show into a few different parts then for the commercial segment before the show goes back on the air.
But we can show it on the live stream after we're done. And we do have this from Justin Ortle right now, who's in Manitoba.
Hey, Joey and the gang. This is Justin at the CPKC holiday train in Brandon, Manitoba. It's a pretty chilly evening, but it's going to warm up overnight. We got nice weather ahead for the weekend until we get more snow and a cool down later on Sunday, if you can hear me. But look at that holiday train behind me. Band just playing back over this way. Beautiful evening.
That looks really, really nice. When does the holiday train come towards you, Brandon Hauk?
Actually, on Sunday, it'll be in the area. Oh,
All
yes.
that and more on this week's Brandon Hauk Report.
The Brandon Hauk Report.
Oh, hi. This is the Brandon Hauk Report.
Yes, the holiday. And that's if I make it to the holiday train because I got a Christmas party Saturday night. So I'm going to be in Red Deer. So anyways, we'll try to make it to the holiday train. We'll see how Saturday night goes, I guess. But anyways, yes, we'll get into the Brandon Hauk Report. Yes, I do have a couple of wild stories for you. So that's the good news that I got. The bad news, well, we've got, another bout of Chinook conditions, if you like Chinook weather here in southern Alberta. This week has been, we started off fairly cold. We warmed up quite nicely on Tuesday up to 6 degrees and still got a lot of our snow on the ground. And we had a little bit of, bit of an inversion last couple of days, a little bit of fog, some flurries, freezing rain stayed just to the north of us yesterday. And now we're seeing another bump up in temperature as we get towards the weekend with, Chinook conditions again for Friday, Saturday. And then we're watching a system moving in out of British Columbia. There's some uncertainty with this system, what it's going to be doing on Sunday. It could bring us a pretty good bout of snow Sunday morning and cause winds to gusts of 60 to 70 kilometers an hour and could be near whiteout conditions, or it will move off to Saskatchewan instead and drop 10 to 20 centimeters of snow from a swath from Edmonton over towards southern Manitoba by the end of the weekend there. So we'll be watching this system very closely and as it moves its way towards the United States. Now, we also have next week where we're going to start off on the cool side with temperatures right around the average mark at least, and then just a tad below it as we go into the beginning of next week there. So that is what we are going to continue to follow for you very closely. But other than that, pretty quiet, typical December winter-like conditions here in the prairie provinces to start off next week. So I could talk about the story of the woman who decided to drop turkeys out of an airplane and onto her neighborhood in Alaska last week during their Thanksgiving there. Which was frozen turkeys from the airplane, or the woman who had a tiger snake that slithered up her leg while she's driving her vehicle in Australia. And that's why we live in a place where the air hurts our face. But instead, I'm going to talk a little bit about the snow plows that they announced at Redmond, Washington State there and some of the top snowplows. Now, these guys, they didn't just, everybody submitted their snowplow names and such, and they just didn't say, oh, that snowplow name, we don't like that one. No, they picked all the good snowplow names this time around. It wasn't Mr. McPlowface or whatever like that. These are top snowplow names. So we got, I'll go through the top 5 here. We got Betty Whiteout, which is an excellent name for a snowplow. Big Laplowski is another great name, and that one was picked as well. Snow Begone Kenobi. That was another really good snowplow name. Scoop Dog. Now, I tell you that, but the best
that one is
of them
pretty
all-
good.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
But
Scoop
I haven't got
Dog's
to the
good.
top one. How about CLR or CTRL Salt Delete? There we go. Salt Delete. Now that was the best one of them all.
I'm
And-
really disappointed that they didn't take my name, which was Snow Way Home.
Snow Way Home. And that's also maybe next year. Hopefully next year they pick your name. Snow Way Home.
Or
That's right.
something from Frozen. Let the snow go from Frozen. Let it go instead of let it go. Let the snow go.
I had all kinds of unique and creative names for the snowplow back when they used to burn me in all the time here. They don't do that in Wells no more.
Oh, that's too bad. However, I'll finally go to the city of Philadelphia. They're celebrating Rocky Fest, which should not be confused with Rock Fest, where I guess people throw rocks at Santa Claus. That's not good. No, nobody wants to throw. Don't do that. No,
Not if you
that's
want.
they end up on the naughty list.
Not if you want anything for Christmas. Not if you want anything for Christmas. The Brandon Houck report. That's pretty good. Good job, Brandon. Good job. We'll move on to unless there's any questions for Brandon, we'll move on to meteorologist Mark Ingalls. And Mark, being a former American, was suggested this week by Donald that Canada would make a great 51st state.
No comment.
Okay, Mark. So what do you got for us on BC weather? And what do you got for us on tsunami story?
Well, first, actually, I want to take the baton from Brandon. Washington Department of Transportation actually owns M60 Patton tank, and the purpose of this is on I-90 and on Highway 2. Both are main roads that go east out of Seattle into the mountains. They do avalanche control, and sometimes they will drop bombs out of helicopters to force these avalanches to happen so that they close the highway, cause the avalanche, and then reopen the highway after they clean up. That way avalanches don't happen when normal people are driving through. And there is a guy whose job it is just to drive up to the pass, get in the tank, fire it up, and shoot a few stuff up the hill and cause an avalanche. And they were surplus tanks from the army base there near Tacoma. So
and some people, they just love their job.
that would be a job to love, I think. Oh, gotta go drive up I-90 to go shoot a tank again. Like, that would be the highlight of my day every day I did it, I think. So there you go. More
Yeah, I think
Washington
they use
snow
howitzers
control.
sometimes in BC.
Yeah, I think they have howitzers in Washington too. I think it's actually pretty common to use military artillery up in the mountains.
They actually do training. Like they do field gun training as part of avalanche control. Yeah.
It's a two birds with one stone sort of situation. So BC weather. I'm also going to talk a bit about Washington too, because this is all tied in. Obviously, like, I'm 5 kilometers from Washington, so
Yeah, can't talk about it. That's a different country.
Yeah, right. Well, if we talk about it, it'll just be hype, and we're looking for followers and stuff. Which we are looking for followers for our podcast, which is Comedeorological Report on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. See how I did that, Joey?
That's a really, really smooth play.
That means that
Right now
Russia's
on-
isolated from the rest of the world.
Smooth play on
Yes.
the 5th of December, Thursday night.
And did you hear about
Yes.
Russia? What's going on in Russia? It's isolated from the rest of the world.
It
Yes,
is
so-
heating over there.
So what we've had this high pressure in place over the whole western part of the continent, really, and what that does is in the summer we usually associate this with very hot weather, but in the winter at this latitude The sun angle is not enough. So at night, cold air sinks down to the bottom. We know this. Cold air sinks, it's denser than warm air. And if you don't know that, that's fine. You know it now. Um, but what'll happen in the winter is in a lot of places like low clouds or fog will form. And the sun does not get high enough in the sky during the winter to heat the ground up enough to mix that fog out. So it'll get just set in for days. Um, this is very common in the Columbia Basin where I'm from, in Kennewick, Spokane. On very inversion-y type days, it'll go up to Spokane, down to Bend, Oregon, and up into the Okanagan. And so this is tied together because a lot of those canyons in the Okanagan drain to either the Columbia River or tributaries of the Columbia. Well, similarly, the cold pool extends up those valleys. Imagine a lake of cold air. That's what we're talking about here. There's only one way out. It's the Columbia Gorge going west to Portland. And so you get all this cold air stuck. Tri-Cities in Washington, not BC. Spokane, Yakima, and Ticton, like Kamloops. I don't think Kamloops gets it, but Kelowna, all of this stuff, it's all tied in. We've had it on this side of the mountains too. Here in the lower mainland, we've had some inversion days. Willamette Valley gets it pretty hard down there in Oregon, but then you go up the mountain and it's sunny, so you'll be socked in fog and cold, and we'll just use Kennewick as an example because I'm from there. Socked in fog and cold, somewhere between -1 and +1 Celsius, and then you go up the mountain and it's sunny and like 15 sometimes because that cold air is stuck and it can't get mixed out. We do have a weather
benefit
system
from that often up here, right? Like,
yeah,
and during as the coldest snaps, often it'll be like I've seen it be down to 43 and 44 in Quesnel, and we're like at 38 and 37 here, which is still extremely cold. And then, we see that when it's 30 sometimes as well. It's like 25 here and it's 31, 32 in Quesnel, right? All that cold air sinks on down, and we get the benefit up here in the mountains once in a while. And Kelly was even asking, Kelly Green was this week, well, how it's -10 here, but it's freezing rain. But it's that same sort of thing you're talking about too, where that warm air comes and sits on top. It moves on him. It doesn't dislodge that cold. It just moves on over top, and then it's rain. It's got to go through that cold, and then it becomes freezing rain.
This is very common in Kennewick and Spokane and Penticton and all these places that are sucked in fog this evening on, like you said, Thursday, December 5. These are the freezing rain prone areas. We do have a weather system coming in this weekend. We'll have a short-lived, not exceptional atmospheric river aimed at southwest part of the province. That's also going to dump a bunch of snow up by where you're at, Joey. And that should dislodge a lot of this cold air that's stuck in the valleys and basins. We may see some resurgence early next week, but I think for the second half of December, we're probably heading back into an active weather pattern for the western part of the continent. For the last few weeks, it's been focused more on the Great Lakes and the Maritimes and northeastern U.S., and I think we're going to switch that back. This is pretty common. When we're active, they're usually not, and when they're active, we're usually not. So the more exciting thing, though, was there was an earthquake today in California. And
yeah, I was going to ask you about this, and it really showed why it was a big tsunami warning, and it really showed why you really should just ignore warnings most of the time because they really don't mean anything.
Yeah, and if I have the same response to the people who are flat earthers that we were talking about in the pre-show. If that's what you believe, then this isn't the show for you. But this is relevant to Canada, and I'll explain a little bit later. So some background: there was a 7.0 earthquake near Eureka, California. This is several hundred kilometers north of San Francisco. A 7.0. This is the most seismically active region of California. It's near where the Pacific Plate, the Juan de Fuca Plate, and the North American Plate come together. So it's a triple point, and then that boundary goes out into the ocean with the two oceanic plates. And along that, it's very shaky, just all the time. There was an earthquake, I think, last year that was pretty damaging in that same area. This one caused a bit of damage. I haven't heard of any injuries or deaths, which is good. But a tsunami warning was issued by the Tsunami Warning Center in Alaska, just south of the Bay Area, up probably about a third of the way up the Oregon coast. This is a very large area, and of course, the Bay Area is very populated, something like 10 million people. And so tsunami sirens are going off. You know, most people took very reasonable precautions, got away from the water. Boaters took their vessels out into open water so they're not smashing around on the coast. Luckily, there was no tsunami with this event, but so it was a false alarm. Like it was a false alarm that happens. But would you rather, you know, take a few hours off of work and go take your boat out into the open ocean, or take a few hours off of work and go hike up the hill for a couple hours, or decide every single one's a false alarm and never listen to it, and then one day it's not, and you get smashed by a wave, and you know, everyone you love dies because you didn't pay attention. Like, this is, I say it kind of in jest, but this is the reality of tsunamis. You know, 9 times out of 10, when you see a tsunami warning, and if you're on the coast and you see a tsunami warning, odds are really good that it's not going to do anything to you. But that one time, it will kill everyone you love. Like, this is just how it is, and that's why we don't mess around. Also, with where this earthquake was, for cities like Fort Bragg and Eureka, there was 15 minutes. Okay, we've talked about it on the show before how it's hard to forecast weather in the western part of the continent because we don't have much weather data offshore. Well, that's the same thing with the earthquakes too, and the waves. The same buoys that we use for weather data we use for to see if there's tsunamis coming, and there just are not very many of them. So by the time we know whether one's happening or not, well, it's probably would have already hit Eureka, Fort Bragg, Crescent City. Probably not San Francisco at that distance, but you get the idea. And so we just don't mess around with it. There were some problems that happened with today, and I think today was a really good opportunity for the Weather Service to make some changes. And this is where it's relevant for British Columbia. The National Weather Service in the US operates 2 tsunami warning centers. One of them is in Alaska, and that covers Alaska, Washington, Oregon, California, but it also covers BC, Canada. Kind of, I don't know what the full relationship there is, but the Alaska Warning Center also has responsibility for Canada.
So we're relying on these guys who get it wrong all the time, you're saying?
Yes, right, that's right. So, and you can't see Joey's smug face now because he's not talking and he's not up on the screen, but he has a smug face.
No, I must always look serious on the camera.
So there's 2 centers. The one in Alaska also covers British Columbia. It also covers the maritime provinces because while they are rare, they do happen, you know, in the Atlantic. It's an ocean with volcanoes and stuff. So, and then the other one's in Hawaii, and the Hawaii Warning Center covers U.S. interests in the Pacific, meaning Hawaii and Guam and American Samoa and some of those other territories. And
By
they
interest,
also
you mean the U.S. empire?
Well, yeah, you know, if there was oil out there, we would have just said that. But yes, the empire off in the Pacific, the Hawaii office covers that. They also fill an advisory role for like those smaller nations that are out in the Pacific, also Chile and, you know, other countries. Well, at 10:44, the Alaska office the earthquake happened. And then right after that, the Alaska office issued the tsunami warning for Northern California and Southern Oregon. And people, like I said, people were evacuating. It went very well. The authorities were out on the beach telling people to leave. And at 11:27, alert went out saying there is no tsunami hazard from this earthquake or something like this. But the catch is that was from the Hawaii office, not the Alaska office. The Hawaii office was saying there's no tsunami hazard for Hawaii or Guam or American Samoa or anything. It had nothing to do with California or Oregon. And the problem here is there was no obvious place in that bulletin that said that it wasn't for California or Oregon.
So they happened to be correct this time by accident.
But imagine, you know, San Francisco, again, it's a metro area of 10 million people. You know, if you have an event like that and it's the real deal, that kills people.
No, it's really good. Really good they found this error. And, you know, the reality is that everything happens so fast. Earthquake waves, you know, the S waves, they travel super fast, you know, and tsunamis travel super fast. And by the time you have the data together to be like, oh, it's coming, it's hitting you. So you have to shout, look out. you know, you're seeing like a ball coming at you so fast. Like, is it going to hit me? Is it going to hit me? Is it gonna, I really could put my arm up, but I don't think it's going to hit me. Oh,
And then you get mad at whoever sent the ball at you, right?
yeah. Why'd you throw the ball at me?
But I hope the Weather Service takes note that this happened, because the Hawaii office's notice went out a half an hour before the tsunami warning was canceled. And it was totally accurate. There was no tsunami threat for the Hawaii office's responsibility
coincidentally.
region. Right. Well, but the issue is if there had been an active tsunami on the West Coast, well, now half the people who are looking at this are confused. And you know, some people in the Weather Service may say something like, "Well, all of our bulletins say to look for official sources and stuff," and like that's fine. And people do need to look at official sources, but at the same time, meteorologists and other scientists in the hot seat need to recognize the reality of how information spreads. You know, the individual, you and I and Brandon and Mike and Karen and Frankie, we all have the responsibility to know what to do on ourselves. But the people making these warnings also have a responsibility to make these warnings usable for the general public. And so, like, again, I want to be very clear. It was appropriate to issue a warning. These people are doing an important job. The alert from Hawaii was accurate, but it needs to be more clear. And so this is a really good opportunity to improve that, and I hope that they do. We have Shelley in the chat mentioning the different fault types that are offshore, and I do want to cover that a little bit. The reason why tsunamis aren't as big of a deal from the kind of earthquake that happened today versus the big one that we will eventually get along the Pacific Northwest coast is because those two plates that ruptured today are sliding horizontally against each other. And so that was mostly a horizontal movement that happened on the seafloor. It doesn't displace a lot of water. The tsunami risk from that largely comes from if a landslide were to happen, either onshore into the water or underwater. In both cases, again, we wouldn't really have the data on that until it was too late. Whereas the really big one, that's going to cause a large vertical displacement, and it will displace a lot of water, and it will be very problematic. So the main story for the general public is, you know, if you see a tsunami warning, follow the instructions. You know, the worst thing that could happen if it's wrong is you miss a few hours of work. You know,
Yeah.
the worst thing that could happen if it's right and you take it to be a false alarm is, you know, you're not here to enjoy the next day.
Yeah, and make
Like
sure
this
you
is
follow the
this is the
instructions.
reality.
Make sure you follow the instructions. Your phone dings, emergency alert, and you're like, oh, emergency alert. What am I supposed to do? I think I'm supposed to go underground right now. No, wrong. Make sure you follow the instructions. This is not a tornado; it's a tsunami. I thought
Yes.
the post of the day was on Portland Weather Uncensored. You said it's funny how many Mets are suddenly tsunami and earthquake specialists. And I was like, okay, well, fair enough. But Mark is a geologist too, so
Well, I do want to point out I am a geologist too. That's true, but I do want to point out that almost every meteorologist had to take geology and oceanography courses as part, like it's part of the program in most universities.
yeah,
Not
earth science.
necessarily as much as I took, but it is part of the program. And so also in most television stations, the meteorologist is kind of just the resident scientist in general. And so they do have that responsibility from their employer. And so they do usually know a thing or two. But yeah, they are, most meteorologists aren't geologists. I am, but I'm not like a very good geologist. I've never worked as a geologist, but I do have that background. I saw Mike had a question.
Yeah, I went into this website, volcano, like earthquake database, and apparently there are like 5 other earthquakes that have occurred in Manitoba and like the western Manitoba Sask Manitoba border. Uh, April 2010, October 2022, August 2019, and then there's magnitude 3.6 by Beset.
Yeah.
Are those because of the mines that are in the areas or the fracking?
I don't know enough about that, but I will say what I can say is earthquakes happen everywhere. They are far more common on the edges of the tectonic plates, and Manitoba is not on the edge of a tectonic plate, but also like Manitoba is on the Canadian Shield, which could visualize as a big sheet of peanut brittle, right? It's not very ductile. It breaks, and there are fault planes all throughout because it's just hard rock. And so earthquakes do happen. Fracking and mining do increase the rate of earthquakes. This has happened significantly in Oklahoma and Texas. And I think it's happened in Alberta too. So that's obviously possible, but I don't know the economics there. I will say in Wisconsin recently there was a what's called an ice quake. I haven't read super much on this one specifically, but what'll happen is as the ground freezes up, it create small shallow earthquakes that are able to be felt in a small area. Obviously, the one that you said that was in July, that's not going to be an ice quake. But yeah, earthquakes do happen. If there is fracking in Manitoba, then that's probably a good indicator of what happened. But I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't think there's much for fracking in Manitoba. No, the Canadian Shield's not much for natural gas. But as you go to the lower areas, maybe into the plains area, you might come into some chance of that. But no, the shield itself is quite, and that's the same in Ontario too. Any oil reserves in Ontario are like the London, Ontario, Sarnia. That's why it was such an industrial base out there.
I want to mention that though, because there is a gold mine at Bassett, and that's probably why I'm seeing the earthquakes there. The residents are probably just registering them when they're digging for gold. So,
the underground blasting, absolutely, can sometimes, because the Canadian Shield is a solid rock. It's not like here in Wells, it's very philitic rock. It's very a lot of stratigraphy. It's like a shock absorbing system. You can have a blast go off underground here, and you might not notice. Right. Whereas if you have
that's another really good point.
The Canadian Shield being like just pure granite, for the most part, right? So.
But that's also why, because all this oil and natural gas and fracking is the fossil deposits of dead plants and crap that's been smashed down and metamorphosed into the resources that we use for fuel. And the Canadian Shield isn't a very good environment for that to happen geologically. Whereas on the prairies and on the plains in the US, the reason why there's so much fracking in Alberta and Oklahoma and stuff is because there was a shallow sea there a long time ago. It collected all these dead plants and crap, and then they got mashed down. That didn't really happen on the Canadian Shield. And so geologically speaking, if there's a mine for gold or something, that would indicate a more active seismic region in general, I would expect, because it takes a lot of activity to kind of pull that gold out of the background material to be economically usable deposits. But again, I don't know the specifics on geological economics in Manitoba.
Hey, folks, I'm in Winnipeg. This is Mike McGregor for Weather Center of Manitoba. Got a really interesting Chinook feature here. Got all those waves underneath it. It's freezing cold here in Winnipeg, but it's been going down to about, I guess, like +3. Yeah, +3 on Saturday. Look at those, the way the clouds are coming straight out of the south here. They're moving at a pretty fast rate too. But I thought that I'd show you that's kind of interesting how the wind can just shift after what looks like a Chinook has come through Winnipeg. Anyways, thanks for joining the Weather Comedy Report. Last night and the night before last night, we're in the -30s. I didn't really actually get a chance to look at the temperature, but it was cold enough that our heat system wasn't working well enough, even with set at 72. It's -9 right now. Actually, it was cold, a lot colder earlier, -12 earlier today, and it's going to like +4 on Saturday, +2 on Sunday, and -8 on Monday. I'm gonna look at the past 24 hours to see how cold we got, because I don't really pay attention to the weather in the winter months as much as I do in the summer. I don't think it's the weather is as interesting. It's just cold and snowy, but I'm going to start paying attention to it a bit more.
It's just finding new ways to describe our suffering.
Yeah, well, it got down to minus 21 last night. Wind chill felt like minus 28. Cold enough for ice crystals. It's kind of weird how we only have still 10 centimeters of snow on the ground. And we're still getting these cold blasts. Justin and I were talking, and you said that we're likely going to get a warm up this weekend, which is going to bring more snow after that. Another cool down. We got hit with an Arctic blast earlier this week. Our temperatures were in the minus 30s during the morning. I think we had a minus 33 wind chill my memory's not that good. I think it was on Monday or Tuesday. It was minus 33 with the wind chill. So you guys have been sending all that cold air down here. And Joey, I haven't really liked it that much, but I want to keep sending it down. I am looking forward to next week, though, when temperature trends are going to be. I haven't really. Sorry, I'm working on this, Joey. Here, I was looking at the latest data. I think Brandon was mentioning we're going to get another blast of cold weather next week. Wednesday and Thursday might even feel like minus 40 degrees. And first major cold blast of the season, as Justin was mentioning. I don't see any snowstorms on the horizon. Be nice to get a nice Colorado low or a nice Clipper system, but there's a risk for freezing rain on Saturday east of Winnipeg. And for those listening on Monday, there's another system coming in early in the week with another chance at snow on Monday and Tuesday, which will likely bring a Clipper system with it and crash and cold front behind that. And, again, those cold Arctic air polar vortex breaking off or something like that. So, if you're looking for cold prairie weather, you're definitely going to want to come to Winnipeg.
No. I like my warm mountain snow. That's just keep snowing -2. I could deal with that for all year round. It wouldn't bother me. How's things in Prince George, Karen Richards?
Oh, it's we had a great weekend with snow this past weekend. Now it's rain, freezing cold, not freezing cold, but black ice everywhere. Horrid driving.
Yeah, it's been really sketchy this week all through the north, eh?
It's not nice.
It's kind of like what has been in Winnipeg the last couple of days. Lots of people driving. There's a guy who really drove into someone's yard and knocked it down his steps. So it's winter in Canada.
Frankie,
hey, Joey,
did you cause
Frankie videos?
Yeah, that's true. I do have Frankie videos ready, but also Frankie, we've been meaning to ask you because we're really concerned because there was a big earthquake today, and you've been really quiet about it. I haven't heard you deny.
I just did a video back in December 2023.
Haven't heard you deny it. Did you maybe?
I did not cause it at all.
You didn't cause it at all?
I was going to ask you, Frankie, did you cause it?
No.
Frankie.
Come on.
Didn't someone give him a chocolate bar to admit to it?
I believe Frankie.
No. I did not cause an earthquake.
Hey, everybody! Bitcoin just reached up to $100,000 United States currency, and 1 Bitcoin is now $100,000 US currency. For breakdown.
Oh, that's a lot, Frankie.
Hey everybody, my dad, Frank McDonald, made his latest song on the SoundCloud, Mystic Mist, looking for something. That's my dad, Frank McDonald's latest song. He played the guitar all by himself. He played the guitar all by himself. He recorded his own song and wrote his own lyrics. And he mastered his own song. My dad, Frank McDonald,
is writing a lot of music lately. His latest song is Looking for Something on his SoundCloud, Mystic Mist. My dad, Frank McDonald, played guitar all by himself, recorded his own song, wrote his own lyrics. That is the original song, Looking for Something. That's my dad, Frank McDonald's latest song he made. My dad, Frank McDonald's making a lot of songs lately for Frank McDonald.
What's he looking for,
This
Frankie?
is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station, live in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Major storm is headed towards Vancouver Island on Saturday, December 7th, 2024. It's going to bring a lot of rain. Winds are going to be really strong. It's going to bring heavy downpour, especially in Tofino, British Columbia, and very strong winds. And will cause big waves crashing on beach and shores of west coast of Vancouver Island, especially in Tofino, British Columbia. It's going to bring a lot of wind and rain. And Sauk, British Columbia, Victoria, British Columbia, Port Renfrew, British Columbia, Saanich, British Columbia, Colwood, British Columbia, including Ladysmith, British Columbia, Duncan, British Columbia, and Nanaimo, British Columbia, Port Alberni, British Columbia, and Tofino, British Columbia, Parksville, Crumcon Beach, Courtney, Comox, Campbell River, Port McNeil, Port Hardy, British Columbia. It's going to bring wind-driven rain and sideways rain in Vancouver Island and the surrounding areas. Is going to bring a lot of rain in Vancouver Island, including Victoria, British Columbia, surrounding areas as well. People in Vancouver Island, be prepared. Have your rubber ready, raincoats ready, raincoats ready. When you go outside, wear your raincoat, wear your rubber, wear your raincoat to keep it dry. Don't drive to the puddles. Avoid the puddles when driving car winter. Don't walk to the puddles either. And stay away from the beaches and don't go near shores of Vancouver Island, especially in Victoria, British Columbia, and surrounding areas as well, especially on the west coast of Vancouver Island. It's going to bring heavy downpours with windy conditions as well. If you have anybody living in Vancouver Island, be prepared for heavy rain and really strong winds on Saturday, December 7, 2024. Take care, stay safe, but don't get caught in heavy rain. Stay dry and be safe.
Yeah, you got to avoid the puddles altogether.
Hey everybody, it's Frankie Down. Here's an update on Bass Guy Show. You gotta click tip Bass Guy on www.bassguyshow.com. Click tip to tip money to Bass Guy Show. And Bass Guy Show will be back on the air before you know it. And here's the latest update on Bass Guy Show. If you want to get the Bass Guy Show back on the air, go to www.bassguyshow.com and click tip to Bass Guy so to get us a lot of his equipment and fixing guitars and bass guitars and things like this. So the Bass Guy Show will be back on the air.
And he got hit by Hurricane Debbie.
The bass is the guy playing the bass guitar, and the guy is the guy running the show. Bass Guy Show will be back on the air before you know it. If you want to get the Bass Guy Show back on the air, go to www.bassguyshow, click tip Bass Guy. So the Bass Guy Show will be back on the air. And Bass Guy Show is a great show. I'm on Bass Guy Show every Friday night at 10 p.m. Atlantic, 9 p.m. Eastern. Bass Guy Show will be back on the air before you know it. To all listeners to the Bass Guy Show, including Kajen, including Patrick Mac's Guide Universe, Julie for Indonesia, Stefan for Slovakia, Sock Cop, Lynn from Texas, Deborah, Christine from Miami, Florida, and Bunny Crusher. To all listeners to the Bass Guy Show. So the Bass Guy Show will be back on the air before you know it. If you want to raise money for Bass Guy Show, go to www.bassguyshow, click tip to get the Bass Guy Show restored before you know it. To all listeners to the Bass Guy Show, click tip on www.bassguyshow to get Bass Guy equipment back on the track and back online and things like this. To every single listeners to the Bass Guy Show from Frankie MacDonald of Sydney, Nova Scotia, Canada.
You got some hail in your hair there.
Hey everybody, this is all the RGB lights.
Guess what time it
Change
is?
a lot of different colors, especially people living in remote areas up north, including Nunavut territory and Greenland, part of Denmark, and South Bar, Norway, and northern Siberia, and all those places, and Antarctic research stations. And when it gets dark 24 hours a day in Antarctic research stations in June, July, and August. When it gets dark 24 hours a day from the end of November all the way till the end of January up above the Arctic Circle, especially up in Nunavut territory, in parts of Northwest Territories, in parts of Yukon, and even up in Alaska, in northern Alaska, like Barrow, Alaska, and then RGB lights that can change a lot of different colors. That would be great for people and the offshore oil rigs and things like this, and oil tankers and oil ships and Antarctic research stations such as McMurdo Station and Amundsen Scott Sopo Station Antarctica and Palmer Station Antarctica and any other research stations in Antarctica. These are the lights that changes a lot of different colors, especially
15
for
million.
people living in northern Canada, like Nunavut territory, Svalbard, Norway, and northern tip of Norway, and northern tip of Finland, and northern Finland, and northern Sweden, and all those places, including those places that get dark 24 hours a day during winter months.
Especially those places.
For people living in southern tip of Argentina, like Lucia, Argentina, and Falkland Islands and surrounding areas. Those are the RGB lights that changes a lot of different colors, especially for people living in remote areas up north, like up in the Arctic and offshore rigs and things like this. It's great for people, including down Antarctica and things like this, in northern Siberia, Svalbard, Norway, and Klugatuk, Nunavut, and Resolute Bay, Nunavut, and Greece Fjord, Nunavut, and in other remote communities up in north as well. And RGB lights is a great lights. It's great for people up north and things like this, up Nunavut territory,
Especially.
in northern Alaska and things like this, up in the Arctic and Antarctic research stations and things like this, and oil tankers, and offshore oil rigs and things like this, and people that work up on the oil ships and things like this. RGB lights is great for people to have. Those are the RGB lights.
That's your face is blue, Frankie. Look at that. It is a totally.
For Frank down.
Man, I love that.
That's the bluest blue I've ever seen your face, Frankie. You look like something out of a science fiction movie from the 1950s.
Or
Those are
the
incredible.
Blue Man Group guys.
So if you're new to the show, a couple months ago, Frankie got these lights that changed 15 million different colors, and it blew his freaking mind, man. He's just, ooh, Frankie, he can't believe the 15 million color lights, and he really likes those lights, don't you, Frankie?
Yes.
Yeah,
Frankie,
especially
have
good-
you ever heard of those projectors? They can actually project the night sky, stars, and I've heard even northern lights onto your ceiling. Have you ever seen
I
any?
got that in 2020.
That's old. Frankie had that long ago. Yeah, those lights, Frankie, they're good for people, especially in Nunavut and the Arctic and Alaska and Svalbard, Norway, and everywhere that's really cold and dark, Frankie.
In
Especially
the Antarctic research stations.
them too. Yeah, I was thinking about that, especially them. I wouldn't mind getting myself some of those. Like, how much were they, Frankie? How expensive are those kinds of lights? Like thousands of dollars?
Nighttime projector. Some of them cost $69 and things like this.
No, what about your lights though? Your RBGK, your 15 million color lights, Frankie. How much do those
Yes.
cost?
And some of those RGB lights. And I'm sending a link to Amazon now to chat.
How expensive are they, Frankie?
You have to
I
check
got
it
one
out.
of those
I
at
just sent it.
Dollarama for like $3.
I'm sending it to chat right now. I just sent it.
Well, why can't you just tell me the number? What's the number?
Oh.
What's
Hold on, he sent it in the chat.
what's the cost? Why is it a secret? I want to know because I want to do the math on how many people that live in these dark places and what it would cost us
Then they have to have
give
a big flight.
everyone in the world.
Looks like $20.
Yeah, I don't know. These aren't the ones I'm looking at. These are all strings
No.
of light, Frankie. I want to know what your light costs, like what you have in your house.
One of them, one day 800-watt ones. How
Yeah,
much
it's
does
like-
it cost? And nearly.
This is like $50.
And then 800, around $839, $89 for
and two packet 800-watt lights.
Okay, so let's say there's 10 million people living in the north. In places like this, like in Nunavut and Russia and Svalbard, Norway, Frankie, and Alaska, even people in Antarctica. So say that all those people in all the world, we wanted to let's just do the right thing and give them all the lights they need to no longer have to be depressed all winter long, right? And you know how much that would cost us?
Like the RGB lights.
Only $890 million. We could solve midwinter depression, everybody, for just $890 million. So make sure you give to the show here, because we are raising $890 million to try to give lights to everybody and especially in Svalbard, Norway, and Nunavut, especially in Churchill, Manitoba, and places like that.
They're
I just sent the link to-
$139.
I just sent the Comedeorological weather report chat.
There we go. And look at that. We've already got a donation for $400 million, Frankie. We're halfway there. This is your Christmas drive. Looking for $890 million, folks. Going once, going twice, going three times. It's been quite a show this week. Yeah, it's thanks for hanging with me. I haven't slept in a couple days, really. I tried. I mean, I'm okay, but my friend
And
died.
bass guy shows fixing the guitar still, testing his equipment yesterday.
My friend who has lived in the building here died this week, and it wasn't a fun experience to see her like that and to go through that and feel bad for her. And it's just, I'm doing okay, but my body still is trauma response.
If you want to follow me on social media, my thread is at Frankie MacD984. My blue sky is at Frankie MacD. My ex formerly Twitter's at Frankie MacD. My link tree is Frankie MacDonald. My Facebook is Frankie MacDonald. My Instagram is Frankie MacD984. My TikTok is FrankDonald984. My Clapper is FrankDonald984. My Twitch is FrankDonald984. My Snapchat is FrankAmyC21. My YouTube channel is Doc Soos. My LinkedIn is Frank MacDonald. Best luck to you. I'm Frank Donald. Yours is a Comedeorological weather report every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Atlantic.
Yeah, that's right. You've been hearing us on C4 88.7 Prince George, CKUW 95.9 Winnipeg, CFBX 92.5 Kamloops, and Rogers Television across BC. And if you can hear us out there, if the radio waves go to that part of the ethereal world of nature, if you're out there listening, Lisa, this show is for you. I'll be thinking about you for a long time. The building won't be the same without her here. And yeah, it's been a tough week, but it's been good to at least come back and see my friends here in the report. And it's what I look forward to every week. It's I wouldn't talk to other humans much if I didn't have this show every week. So that's why I first put the whole thing together. It's I just need to talk. I need to do something. I need to get out there and start talking.
Michael McGregor sent the link to the LED RGB lights, and I just sent the on RGB lights, the link to RGB lights to Comedeorological chat as well.
We just need $890 million, folks, and we can give lights to everybody in Svalbard, Norway, and even Finland, too. Even Finland. No one thinks about Finland, but we do here at the report. We want to make sure that they have lights that can change 15 million different colors there in Finland. So send your donations to... Send your donations to Joey Only, care of Wells, BC, $890 million. And make sure you write on it. Make sure you write on it that it's for the lights for all the people of the world, because if you don't, I might forget. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, $890 million. That's right on. That's what I needed. And then before you know it, people are like, hey, did you spend that $890 million? That was for everybody in the north to have lights. The last word goes to you this week, Mike.
Can we get a fundraiser going? Like a legit fundraiser? I think that would be awesome to have something like that for the Weather Comedy Report.
Like for me?
That's a great idea.
To support everyone here
to
get through the winter months. Or for a McDonald's outing for Christmas for all of us.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, someday we will. Someday we'll sell this show to I don't know, CNN or something.
That's the show.
That's the show. We'll see you on CNN next time, everybody. I'm Joey.
Bye, Frankie.
Bye, Frankie. Good night, buddy.
Bye, Frankie.
I'm gonna call the live stream early and just say I'm done tonight, folks. I'm going to bed. Good to see you all. Love and rage, and next week on the show. And stay tuned. Good night, everybody.